So I hope you're all having a nice day today, no matter where you are in this big planet. We're going to discuss about Xrp. And I have to start with this from King Valix. Xrp is being added to the Treasury of digital assets. Reliance Global Group is putting Xrp, the cryptocurrency used in the Ripple payment network and the native token of the Xrp ledger, into their treasury. And they already bought Xrp. I told you that as time goes on, we'll see more and more of this, but I want to make one thing clear. They do talk about Xrp's use case. Right now, Xrp is the fourth biggest cryptocurrency. It is now the fifth largest by market cap and is commonly used as a bridge asset for international payments in enterprise-grade apps. Xrp is fast, cheap, and useful for banking. It can also grow and is good for the environment. The fact that they know what Xrp is supposed to do. They will probably start using Xrp for what it was made for, but we will definitely see more of it as time goes on. Breaking Forbes says that BlackRock and Ripple are connected. BlackRock will put assets on the Xrp ledger as tokens. And you can see that this originates from Securitize. Behemoth, BlackRock and Van said they will use Securitize to tokenize money market funds. People who own funds will be able to get RLUSD directly on the blockchain. I wonder if they even knew they were talking about Ripple when they talked about RLUSD. Forbes is another site that likes to say that Xrp is a zombie coin, but I believe that's a beautiful throwback. Xrp made this. They're talking about Mxrp and how it helps the Xrp ledger get more popular. Listen up, buying Xrp has a second benefit. The first benefit is that you gain yield as a user and also give back to the ecosystem. This is especially good for the price of Xrp. Why? Because Mxrp collects yield from all kinds of yield sources, and this yield is not tied to Xrp and is measured in dollars. It then utilizes this yield to buy back Xrp. Mxrp always puts your Xrp to work to earn this yield, then it uses that yield to buy Xrp and give it back to the customers. That's why we say Mxrp is the first person to buy Xrp forever. This property will automatically lead to deeper liquidity, which will lead to more DeFi integrations and capital network effects. In turn, this will make the ecosystem bigger. This will add more value and developers to the XRPL ecosystem, which will make demand more structured and put even more pressure on Xrp to buy. In general, this is really good for the XRPL ecosystem and the price of Xrp. So he thinks that will also raise the price of Xrp. But I loved how he explained Mxrp. A lot of people ask me about that. Now it's all about getting yield from your Xrp. Things are definitely getting better. What if you could make money off your Xrp throughout the bear market in 2022, 2023, and 2024? That would have been amazing. It's better that it's occurring now than later, and it's happening now. But everyone understands the need for Xrp yield, and Jimmy Valley wrote this again, so a lot of people are talking about the buyback Xrp V10 copyright 2022 again. 2035 is 10 years from today, but wouldn't that be in 2032? To find the net present value, you take the price you think Xrp will be worth in 10 years and add a 10% discount rate. They say that Xrp's net present value is $385,504,504.29. Value in 10 years is $1 million. And Jimmy Valley wanted to keep people's Xrp and talk to the federal government about buying it back. Eleanor Tourette was even going to look into this, in fact. And this is what they came up with. So if the plan goes through, these instructions might buy back Xrp from regular people at a minimum price of $37,500 each Xrp. The idea also said that the most Xrp might be worth was $50,000. Most people in the Xrp community thought the idea was just wishful thinking. David Schwartz even said it was a hoax. This is how I see things. What about folks who live outside of the US? What if the US government bought your Xrp for $37,500 each token? Would their governments or central banks also be purchasing back their Xrp? To me, it all felt like something to make things cool for Jimmy Valley. This gave him a lot of momentum in 2022. In other words, it was the talk of the town. Just wait until the US government buys back your Xrp. When it happens, you'll be a trillionaire. But this is how I see things. Don't ever allow someone else take care of your Xrp. You take your Xrp off the exchanges and place it in a hardware wallet. This way, you have your crypto, your keys, and your crypto. If you don't have the keys, you don't have the crypto. If Jimmy Valley has your Xrp, remember, not your keys, not your crypto. That's how I always saw it. The US government is not going to buy back your Xrp for $37,500 or even $50,000 each coin. Instead, Ripple will probably give some of that escrow to the US government. It's possible that will happen. A lot of people in the Xrp community would also say that the Xrp escrow is already going to the IMF, the World Bank, and other places. We truly don't know though. but I do know that there won't be a repurchase. Ripple and Ono worked together to put US Treasuries on the XRP ledger. Do you remember when that happened? Ono Finance made this. On the Ono Global Markets platform, shares of more than 100 of the world's biggest equities and ETFs are tokenized. BlackRock, Microsoft, Alphabet, Amazon, Nvidia, Shopify, PayPal, Netflix, Apple, Tesla, Uber, Meta, AMD, Nike, Visa, IBM, and a lot more. So how much of those stocks, ETFs, and shares are going to end up on the XRP ledger through Onondo? I have to wait and see what happens next. But this is a big deal. You know, the whole stock market is going to turn into a tokenized asset so that people all around the world may trade stocks. This way, they get a lot of new investors. We just have to wait and see what happens next. That's why I was talking about real estate and tokenization the other day. Listen to this. A lot of people can't afford to stay in a hotel like the one we're in right now because it's just too pricey. But if you can break that price down so that a person is spending $1,000 or $5,000 to have a same equal prata share of that real estate, they can now start to invest in real estate throughout Brazil, throughout United States, and start to create their own portfolio, or even buy a mutual fund, a portfolio of like an ETF of real estate that's already been tokenized and have a blended portfolio of return. There are a lot of good things about tokenization of real estate, and that's why it's going to be huge. A lot of people would invest in real estate if they didn't have to buy a full property. They could start with $50 or $100. This is what they're doing on Stellar. They are doing it on Algorand. They are also doing it on other networks and the XRP ledger. This is going to get a lot of attention right away because, let's face it, you might become a real estate billionaire without spending a lot of money. You might just keep adding to your first investment. To put it another way, if you're making money, just keep putting that money back into the business. If you invest in real estate tokenization, you will eventually make a lot of money without doing anything. Paul Atkins, the head of the SEC, said that by the end of 2025 or the beginning of 2026, the SEC will start establishing rules for an innovation exemption. This helps the growth of digital assets and cryptocurrencies in the US. When he talks about innovation exemption, it would help utility-driven cryptocurrencies the most. We always talk about how XRP is pushing innovation forward, even when we talk about it. Brad Garlinghouse has said it. David Schwartz has said it many times. People at Hydera talk about innovation a lot, since that's what everyone wants to happen. Innovation never stops. It only moves forward and gets faster. Reports say that Discord is being blackmailed after 2.1 million user ID photographs were taken. I wanted to tell you all about this since it will have a big effect on the crypto community. The vulnerability is a big danger for anybody who used Discord to trade cryptocurrencies. Discord is the main place where a lot of crypto projects, NFT communities, and blockchain networks talk to each other. In these areas, developers, traders, and investors often talk about private matters. The chief IT officer at Hudson Rock talked about the risk.